Good evening and welcome to Prime Time News on TV1. As always, we have all of the latest developing stories from here at home and across the world stand ready for you. And before we head to those stories in detail, let's start off the look at headlines.
Chairman of the United National Party calls for the list of parliamentarians who are alleged cocaine users. Has the UNP given up on the southern province?
ඉතින් අපි කොහොමත් මේ දකුණ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ මාතර හම්බන්තොට ගාල්ල කොහොමත් අපි මහින්ද මහත්තයාට දාලා.
Lawyers say they hope to submit bail applications for Amal Pereira and his son, who is treating Madhush and Mahendran in a similar manner.
කුඩු බැංකුව අතේ තියෙන මදුෂ්ටයි මහ බැංකුව මංකොල්ල කාපු අර්ජුන් මහෙන්ද්‍රන්ටයි එකම විදියට සලකන්නේ කොහොමද කියන ගැටලුව අපිට එනවා.
Sri Lankan migrant worker held captive in Saudi for 12 years, rescued only to be kept in a detention center for over 10 months. Sri Lanka beats South Africa in the first test played in Durban.
On to those stories in detail now. Sri Lanka won the first test against South Africa by 1 wicket in Durban. Chasing a target of 304, Kusal Janit Pereira ended the game in sublime fashion with a boundary. On to another headline-making story for this evening now. The report pertaining to the initial investigations carried out on Amal Pereira and his son Nadim Al Pereira have been handed over to the State Council of the United Arab Emirates. This was revealed by the lawyer representing the duo, Attorney-at-Law Shabdika Vellapilli.
Speaking to Newsfirst from Dubai, he stated that the Dubai police is currently awaiting results of blood and urine tests carried out on the two suspects prior to filing charges against them.
I met with the police officers attached to the Dubai police. They stated that two suspects, Amal Pereira and his son Nadim Al Pereira, are remanded till the 28th of February. When I met the duo, especially Nadim Al Pereira stated that they did not use any narcotic substances. The public prosecutor informed me that I can file bail applications on behalf of these two individuals. If I am advised to proceed with this matter, I will act accordingly within a week's time.
Meanwhile, Attorney-at-Law Udul Premaratna stated investigations conducted in this regard that 16 of those arrested in Dubai have been found to have not consumed any narcotic substances.
Among the apprehended 31 suspects, 16 have only been accused of minor charges. With regard to Amal Pereira, we suspect there might have been some form of conspiracy. He even mentioned this to me.
The group was arrested along with narcotic substances at a hotel in Dubai on the 4th of this month. Quoting from internal reports of the CID, the Daily Mirror newspaper published today that 13 police officers and 20 prison officers had maintained connections with the underworld drug lord Madhush and his affiliates. The Daily Mirror also stated that investigations are currently underway to verify and determine the strength of these connections.
Establishing the Sangha Sabha of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in Tangol was taken place today at the Tangol Carlton House.
They looked for Madhush for many years. There was an accusation against Madhush for killing 7 or 8 people by shooting at a prison bus. He took responsibility for it. But we didn't know that the police obtained a red notice against Madhush. The government treats both Arjun Mahendran and Madhush in the same way. We feel that the police is adhering to a slow process regarding them without obtaining a red notice. We get a reasonable doubt that government is behind the safe passage of both of them. We have a question when both drug lord Madhush and Arjun Mahendran, who was involved in the bond scam, are treated in the same way.
The website of the Heart to Heart Trust Fund was launched earlier today with the auspices of the President Maithripala Sirisena.
The event was held at the auditorium of the nursing school at the Jayawardhanapura Hospital. The website provides information to the general public regarding the Heart to Heart Trust Fund and will accommodate heart patients to request donations from the fund through the website in the future. Donations were accepted for the Heart to Heart Fund under the patronage of the President. What is suitable is to obtain the information of the patients, especially regarding their economic background, and to select the patients based on that information. There are people in this society today, if anything is given free of charge, even if they can afford it, they will take it. As the government, we will give the full support and patronage for this important project. So even when I came today, I also considered providing a donation. By Monday or Tuesday, I will provide 2.5 million rupees from the President's Fund. I also have a fund at the Polonnaruwa Buddhist Society. With that 2.5 million, a total of 5 million will be provided to your fund as a donation. I wish you long life.
Residents of the Mula district who were affected by floods were given compensation for their lost harvest at the Mula district secretariat under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
After compensation for damaged crops were distributed to the people, government officials, ministers Rishad Batyudin, Wajira Abewardhana and parliamentarians including M.A. Sumandiran of the Tamil National Alliance and several political representatives were present at this event. We need to provide life to the northern province. We came here to do that. We have to service foreign debt of $6.5 billion. We have to do this while we do all of that as well. We try our best to take this forward after the elections. We will finish the program. We are trying to develop the Trincomalee Harbour. We are trying to develop the oil tanks. We decided to bring new factories and decided to make the Palali airport a regional airport. It will be Sri Lanka's third international airport.
The weekly fare of the Veyangoda area was vested with the public under the auspices of opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa, and 70 million rupees had been spent for the project.
The Chief Minister of the Western Province, Isura Devapriya, and public representatives of the district were also present at this event. According to newspapers, our Prime Minister has said that Tamil people need their freedom and their right to live, and that is why they are drafting a new constitution. He has said that this is the constitution that Mahinda brought. I brought the same constitution that Mahinda brought. I don't remember bringing in any constitution of this nature. Do you remember something like that? We don't remember bringing in such a constitution. However, if I had brought something and if it was good, then they could have supported it then and resolved this issue.
In more news from the political sphere now, the SLPP staged a protest in Kegol yesterday demanding provincial council elections.
A large number of members of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna participated in this protest. As a result of the protest, there was a traffic congestion in the vicinity of the Kegol town. The Auditor General has stated that this government robs 25% of your income, 25% of the income of this country. Minister Ranjan Ramanayaka states that the cabinet is made up of drug addicts. The Elections Commission was established to protect the democracy of the citizens of this country and to ensure that they can exercise their right to vote. But the Elections Commission states that someone else should take that initiative. We are ready to take on that responsibility for you. We should ask the TNA if they have any shame to be supporting the United National Party, because the TNA wants the 13+. They don't talk about the elections. That is the right of the people. Ranil Wickremesinghe's government, as usual, is postponing all elections. Recently, we saw how they postponed the provincial council elections by 2.5 years. By now, all provincial councils have exceeded its term, but they do not hold the elections. Ranil Wickremesinghe's government fears elections because he knows he can't win through an election. He is not a leader who can win an election. That is why he always attempts to postpone elections.
Meanwhile, several views were expressed from the political arena regarding the upcoming elections.
My view is that we must now hold provincial council elections. If not, political issues regarding the opposition cannot be resolved. The party I represented during the previous provincial council elections did not win even one electorate. Therefore, I have no intention to look that way. As long as President Sirisena is there, I will remain with him. The current system of governance is deformed. The President supports one side. The government follows another direction. Provincial councils and Pradesh Sabhas set off in opposite directions. Our country's governing system is deformed. At this point in time, what we need is a presidential election and not provincial council elections. The Constitutional Council was formed to the tune of Ranil Wickremesinghe. Our country has an election commission. However, this commission is not being empowered. Elections will only be held when Ranil Wickremesinghe decides to do so. So what's the purpose of an election commission? The Constitutional Council is a lie. The government is afraid of provincial council elections as they know they will lose. People from the south, especially from Matara, does not extend much support to our party. Previous election results have confirmed this. Therefore, we have labelled the Matara, Hambantota and Galle district as Mahinda Rajapaksas. However, we will win other districts. It is okay if people present here cast their vote to the Flower Bud party. That is your right. Even among those present here today, a majority are supporters of Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Now on to a rather tragic headline-making story for this evening. It has been reported that a Sri Lankan migrant worker who was held captive in-house for 12 years in Saudi is currently at a detention centre for over 10 months. This victim of modern-day slavery was a resident of Tihagoda, Matara. Her name is Padmasili Vitharana.
She left to Saudi Arabia in 2006 and had become a prisoner in the house of her employer. Following Newsfirst's revelation, officials from the Sri Lankan embassy in Saudi Arabia met with her on the 23rd of April 2018. However, no official has taken further steps to bring her back to Sri Lanka. Speaking exclusively to Newsfirst, Padmasili Vitharana expressed the following views from a detention camp in Saudi Arabia. I suffered a lot. Apart from harassment, I did not receive any benefit from any of this. I contacted the Riyadh embassy and 2 officials came and got me out of the house I was employed at. These officials told me that I will be sent to Sri Lanka as soon as possible. I then took shelter at the Marsha detention camp. However, this did not help me anyway. I have been here for nearly 5 months. Newsfirst also inquired regarding this matter from the Sri Lankan ambassador in Saudi Arabia, Azmi Tasim.
Though Sirasa found her and provided us with the necessary information, this matter must be dealt with the relevant Saudi officials. We have identified that she must pay 54,000 and this matter is currently in the last stages of discussion with officials attached to the Foreign Ministry of Saudi Arabia.
It can be observed that the depreciating rupee in terms of the exchange rate had settled around the 178 mark, but the stock exchange continued its somewhat negative performance.
Local currency posted a weekly loss of 0.42% from a week due to the high dollar demand from importers and outflows from the stock market. The island newspaper reported the events following MTD Walkers was responsible for the lackluster performance of capital markets in Sri Lanka. This information was followed by the further downward spiral that appeared to have engulfed MTD Walkers. Earlier in the week, Newsfirst exposés brought to the notice of the authorities and to the public alike the significant risks being faced by the state banks, mainly the People's Bank, in connection with the lending portfolios of MTD Walkers PLC. 4 local banks engaged with MTD Walkers sought temporary injunctions against this company, preventing a further transfer of shares to third parties. A day later, that information was followed with the action of leading listed groups seeking a winding up petition against a subsidiary company of MTD Walkers PLC.
On a similar note, various parties expressed the following views regarding those who have affected the economy of the country. They question as to what action has been taken to bring them before the law.
We have transitioned into one of the most corrupt states. The rogues who looted the central bank have escaped to Singapore. This government does not have any plan in place to nab these rogues. We do not see any attempt from this government to intervene and correct this, apart from trying to sweep this under the carpet. Neither Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe nor any other person responsible think of this as an issue. Their main issues are as to how they can protect their party leadership and to protect the government.
ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි පක්ෂවල නායකත්වය ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න එක ආණ්ඩුව ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න එක ඒ කට්ටිය හදන ආර්ථිකයක් නැහැ නැති කරන ආර්ථික.
They aren't attempting to revive the economy. They are only destroying it further. The only economy that rose was the drug economy and that of prostitutes. No other economy has been developed. Therefore, we do not think that Ranil Wickremesinghe can build this economy. In which country exists governments who loot the central bank? How are thieves going to punish thieves?
මහ බැංකුවේ වංචාවක් කරා ඉතින් අරුන්ට දඬුවම් දෙන්නේ කොහොමද මේ කට්ටියත් හොරු වෙනකොට යුද්ධය තිබ්බ වෙලාවම අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා.
We were able to maintain an economy growth rate of 6.7% and 7.2% even when the war was ongoing. We were able to sustain the rupee at 130 rupees against the dollar. We maintained a reserve sufficient for 6 months regardless of the issues we had. Ranil Wickremesinghe and his government have increased our debt burden from 7,200 million to 12,000 million. The main reason for this is the creation of a society without an economic discipline. The first person responsible for this is the Prime Minister. It is clear to us when considering the international arena that in order to truly create good governance within an economy, a genuine attempt must be made by the country as a whole. Roger Ung, a former Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated banker caught up in the One Malaysia Development Berhad or 1MDB fraud scandal, was allowed to return to the United States to face criminal charges against him there. However, what efforts has our government put forth in order to bring down fraudsters who have been directly involved in the central bank bond scam and are currently living lavishly in foreign countries?
Now, the chairman of the Sri Lanka Tea Board, Lucille Vijayawardena, told Daily Mirror, with the imposition of various trade embargoes on Iran, obtaining payments for tea exports from Sri Lanka to Iran is causing several difficulties.
The EU had imposed an embargo on Iran last year. The United States had then imposed an economic embargo on Iran as well. Approximately 32 million kilograms of tea are exported to Iran annually. According to Lucille Vijayawardena, the volume of tea exported to Iran annually has now decreased to about 10 million kilograms following the embargoes. Iran was the fourth largest purchaser of Sri Lankan tea. Lucille Vijayawardena said earlier, Sri Lanka brought crude oil in exchange for the tea, but with the EU and US imposed embargo, Sri Lankan exporters are finding it extremely difficult to obtain payments.
Iran is a very important market for Sri Lanka for Ceylon tea. They have been buying to the tune of 34 million kilos until about 3-4 years back. But last year, year before, it dropped to 27 million, and last year it came down further to 23 million. This is all to do with the embargoes imposed on that country, first by the US and also followed by EU. Not that they have stopped buying, they continue to buy, but under tremendous and trying circumstances because they are unable to get the foreign exchange they need to import the desired quantity of Ceylon tea. So as a result of that, our volumes have dropped.
The central bank yesterday issued a clarification seeking to correct any misleading statements on the sale of subsidiaries and investment properties under ETI finance.
The CBSL notes the approval granted by the central bank was to transfer investment properties and subsidiaries of ETI Finance Limited, considering the best interest of the depositors, based on a proposal submitted by ETIF, which did not include sale of shares of ETIF. The only proposal submitted by ETIF was from Blue Summit Capital Management Limited, which is a foreign entity. As such, possibility of permitting a local investor at the time of approving the said transaction does not arise. Investors who expressed their interest in this regard to CB were instructed to deal directly with ETIF, as ETIF was the owner of the assets. The press release issued yesterday says the involvement of CB in any transaction to dispose assets of a regulated entity is limited to granting necessary regulatory approvals subject to compliance with applicable laws and regulations. As such, CB only granted the approval for this particular transaction upon being satisfied that all possible steps to assess the sources of funds were taken. CB at no point in time extended its assistance to an investor to buy the assets of ETIF. The central bank release says no credible information was available to the CB as to an internationally blacklisted entity being involved in the transaction at the time of granting approval or at the times of receiving funds in tranches. Further, the central bank does not become involved in assessing the ownership of entities which are not regulated by the central bank. Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC, conditional approval was granted by the Monetary Board of CB for a separate proposal submitted by the company. As per the said proposal, the proposed owner will be a locally incorporated entity. The statement reads, in the event the current buyer is not able to infuse the balance $5 million USD, ETIF would retain Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC. In this regard, ETIF is already considering alternatives for reviving Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC. CBSL says, as clearly mentioned in CB's press release dated 11th February, Proceeds of the already concluded $54 million part of the transaction was utilized to repay 20% of the depositors, amounting to 6.4 billion rupees. Further, all funds were directly received by ETIF. The central bank says it had at no time received any funds involved in this transaction. It adds that the fact that ETIF was considering investors was public information. In its release, the central bank emphasizes that the government would not incur any cost irrespective of whether the transaction to transfer assets of ETIF goes through or not, since ETIF is a privately owned limited liability company. The central bank in its release says that it would like to reiterate that the central bank does not get directly involved in negotiations between regulated companies and potential investors. It adds CB's involvement is protecting the interests of the depositors.
Minister Kabir Hashim commented on the statement made by State Minister Ranjan Ramanayake at an event held in Mavanella.
If there are any ministers who use cocaine, then as the chairman of the United National Party, it is my responsibility to take disciplinary action against them and remove them. Our party has removed members for simpler things than these. If they can prove that, then I will discuss with the General Secretary immediately. We will remove those ministers. There are many allegations against politicians. Most of them are not fair. As the media, you can obtain the list of names of the ministers who use cocaine from Ranjan Ramanayake. We will take action against them.
The Youth Council of the Raj De Silva Foundation in Bandaragama convened today under the auspices of Minister Dr Raj De Silva.
I fought and decreased the prices of medicine from 280,000 to 140,000. That's why several specialists are against me, because all those specialists were getting 100,000 from those companies. If so, if 10 injections were prescribed, then it would amount to 1 million rupees. That's how it was. If a stent was prescribed, then it would be 350,000 and 100,000 for the doctors. Also, if it was a contact lens, then it would be 30,000 and 15,000 for the doctors. That's how prices are made. That's how we sell them for 8,000 rupees, which was 300,000 rupees, although the prices were reduced. If I can reduce the prices of drugs, then I can also reduce the price of food. What needs to happen is to cut the commissions.
The 165th village constructed under the Gama program was vested with the public today under the patronage of the Minister of Housing, Construction and Cultural Affairs and also the Deputy Leader of the UNP, Sajith Premadasa.
This model village was constructed in the Savanagala area in Monoragala. It has been named Mini Pahang Gama. This model village comprises of 28 housing units and consists of access roads and an internal road system. The distribution of housing deeds, medical aids to kidney patients and eyeglass contacts took place in line with today's events.
A model village which comprised of 50 housing units was constructed in the Hinidume area. Once I questioned one family as to where they lived. Can you guess what their answer was? They said they lived near a lavatory all throughout their lives. This family did not have a house or land of their own. This is a true story. This man and his family received a land with a house, water and electricity facilities free of charge. We must witness, we must hear and we must suffer the difficulties of the people. All the MPs and ministers must also understand the suffering of the people. The 6.1 million families in Sri Lanka and our country's population of 22 million is the only family we have.
Parliamentarian Douglas Devananda expressed the following views during a press briefing held in Mula.
In the past, when people learned that the President or Prime Minister or a minister is to visit the north from the south, they would express their opinion with a black flag. The people would not allow them to come. People would reject the decisions given by Sinhalese leaders. But if we look at what happened yesterday, who welcomed them? Have you received what they promised? Have you received what they have promised to implement? Have they released any political prisoners? Have they released any lands? What about the missing persons? None of these issues have been addressed. All of this is done on the basis of obtaining votes. Protecting the people is not their objective. They are earning well.
Following a function in Mulathu, TNA MP Charles Nirmalanathan expressed these views to the media.
The Pattakan Bridge in Kanagaratnapuram is used by over 600 families. This bridge is in a dilapidated state. But until now, the government has not allocated money to renovate the bridge. At the same time, 3,000 million has been allocated to Palali. Stop saying that 2,000 million has been allocated for Poonagar. This bridge only required about 50 million rupees. The government should intervene and renovate this bridge.
වසරේ දක්ෂතම ක්‍රීඩකයා මැතිව් අබේසිංහ.
Are you the most talented sportsman of 2018?
Sports First Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
We bring to a close tonight's. And with that, we bring to a close tonight's edition of Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I've been Jamal Ratnayaka. Take care and good night.